do apologize for the dark screen, but once in a while the spirit hits me to speak about things at odd hours, and I don't feel like turning any lights on. And hopefully this time it won't have the odd echo that was in the last one. But interestingly enough, I said the word echo and didn't know it was doing that during the broadcast, and then I had an echo that I've never had in any of my other videos. So interesting, the collapsing of wave functions and time as I was speaking about what time is and what now is. Very curious, fun stuff. But I wanted to take this little brief moment because I was listening to, let's see, Neville Goddard, some Ram Dass, and some Osho, and I find their approach to be all so glorious and lovely and weird and strange, and I guess I'll just focus on Ram Dass. I know I've done a couple of videos on him, and it's this something that just irks me a little bit. I don't know why or how, but I'll even label the video as I'm about to tell you now. His name is RAMDASS, which is SADMARS, which is Sad Mars. And if you've ever studied much about him, it's curious to see him now. Like, his body is so decayed, and it's it's like this. I'm not talking bad about him or anyone else for that matter. This is just to use as an example because it's in everyone's frame of reference, because everybody is a living sigil of something. And etymology plays a big role, and the physical body is the echo or afterthought of the mental strength of a person. Flexibility, strength, all these things. And some people have very strong bodies but weak minds for different reasons. They're like one-dimensional, like people that can lift a lot of weights but they're not flexible, or somebody that's like does yoga but could fall over if the wind comes by. Like, there's all sorts of different values to where people sit within strength and aging and things like this. But with aging is not. See, that even in that, there you go. Aging is what time does to someone. And to say, this is someone that's always talking about now, I'm like, well, now he seems to be a lot more broken apart. And in fact, his body is, if his mind, like any great spiritual teacher, they just choose when they're going to die, and like they just go on and they move on. They just go to their next thing. They're not in bad shape. Like, that dude's in bad shape. But then he seems to be this figment or this, and I made this reference to Stephen Hawking's in the same way. Like, Stephen Hawking's, that dude, if the real one died a long time ago, like that dude didn't live up until this last year with Parkinson's or whatever the hell he had for how many years? 30 or 40 years, like 20 times as long as anybody else would. Like, that's obviously, faulty or whatever. But nonetheless, so you got this Ram Dass character, and I never met the dude. I don't even know he exists. Whatever. But the point is, if he does exist, so the influence of his calculations of what he perceives as what the mind is and what now is. And the body is always a representation of it's called your body politic, your body of work, how you age, gracefully or otherwise, or like to be a great teacher. How could his body end up like that? For anybody to say, people that preach this, they say the mind is more powerful than the body, mind over matter. With the 12 and the 7, play the game about like, oh, everything is mental. We're metaphysicians. But then that to be in a position where you are in a wheelchair, that just really doesn't add up in my mind, in the grand architect's mind. as a real true light being. And you know, I'm not going to get into the whole light workers and dark workers and you know, I'll post my next video. I'll do I read a really great synopsis of what light workers are by someone I really respect and follow on the Instagrams, and it just made me smile because it made complete sense to me. And I'll do that in the next talk. But this is just really about how is it that somebody like Ram Dass, which is Sad Mars, the warring planet of sadness, ends up with a smile on his face like he's just been shot up with I don't know how many, you know, whatever the drugs he's taking to be in a wheelchair and to be like that out of his fucking mind. Like I don't know, like he must be in, like, your body would be in good shape is the point. Like you couldn't like your body decays because you perceive it as such. Like you wouldn't put yourself like that. Like injuries that I've had to myself, the word is injury, you know, that's a mental incongruency. So my weaknesses in my life, I know of, just like I've said to people before, like whenever you get a cancer, you've done that to yourself. Whenever I have a hangover, I know what I did. Like these kind of ideas are part of what life is. You know, they're very short term and short lasted for most people. And so we go through these states of you know, anxieties, depressions, angers, happiness, all of these different things. But nonetheless, they're things and states of consciousness. As I get into Neville Goddard's work, these are states of consciousness we can change. And by changing states of consciousness and awareness, we change the state of matter, because we're metaphysicians. And if our matter is our body, why would we put our body into a position to be, you know, completely incapable of even moving? And then then he's out here like still like, you know, shaking, like speaking with the smile. I don't get it. And so there are so many false teachers out here, and I'm not calling him a false teacher, but I'm just saying, like, I think people need to be a little more cognitively aware of the things that we see outside of us. Like, you know, if I go, okay, well, everything's just a reflection of myself. Well, then he to me then is the incapacitated Mars aspect that's going to die off real soon. Like that's kind of the concept, you know what I mean? And so that I could look at different planetary bodies, and I could get into the archonic figures, and I could say these things outside of myself. And so the encouragement here is me really just saying, you know, again, it's not to like, you know, crack on that dude. It's to say all of you should, you know, look into the types of media that come into your field of vision and say, well, what does this have to do with my life and the internal conflicts I have, et cetera, because I could just equally just say, oh no, this is just, like I said, Ram Dass is just that to me. But I think most of you that listen to me have a very similar experience, or you know, with the types of information you read, the media that you ingest, and it might have to do with a larger time wave, a larger conglomeration of information that we unanimously, like each one of us in a totality, you know, we created this vortex of okay, here's these archonic forces. We'd call them the 12 apostles, or the 12 months of the year, and so, you know, we play with all of the archons and all these forces, and so we can see a miniature reflections of like the characters of like why are these people so popular? They couldn't have been. I think it's because it's a sign of the decaying and the dying out of an old inferior complex of things. Because I think if anybody were to go back and check out this video I made of him talking to Terence McKenna, it was so hilarious to me. He was just so outclassed and outshined by the mushroom god. and I'm not saying Terence McKenna per se himself was a mushroom god, because he certainly was propped up by some agencies, etc., etc. But I'm saying the mushroom spoke through Terence. I've said that many times, that like, you regardless of how that works out, there was, McKenna died from brain tumors, and now this dude's about to, like, his knees don't even work. So what is that going to show people? Is it their reliance on matter, on information from what? I don't like. Obviously, Terence McKenna, his reliance on information came from mushrooms and other things. His belief in those things became his god. Like he couldn't have been so intelligent without the mushroom. Yet I find many very intelligent people never have done any mushroom, right? But then and again, I can go into like great writers. You got other great writers that they were like, the bottle took them to the grave. And then you got other great writers that like, so there's so many different chemicals and substances that we use. And so I think what the idea here is that there's so many substances, like beneath, that end up becoming the crux of people. I don't know what it was for Ram Dass. Apparently it was, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that both of them didn't choose their ending point or how they would go about. I'm not saying that. It's just a way of looking at a reflective surface of whatever our reality is, the matrix that we've designed or we're a part of or whatever, and taking a look at it from the sense of what is this showing us about these, the experience this person's putting forth versus the experience they've had, and then putting it into your life. We have all of these heroes out here, and this is about getting rid of those programs. Even McKenna told you, he's like, who cares what I say? This is your experience. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. This is for you. This is your life. Can't worry about the church and the people over there and these things and that. Like, who cares? Like, you're on this journey. You're floating through the infinite abyss. So I don't know where I really want to end with that, or there was a conclusion, but it was just a little bit of an inlet into what etymology of, well, maybe not the etymology, but just deciphering and decoding his name. And if the Ram Dass is any more than just another puppet, like there's some real ones out here. There's some real people out here. There's some real teachers and some heartfelt parts of the organic matrix. And I wonder at anybody that becomes popularized via the media, how much of the organic matrix could they possibly be? I think some people have gotten. I think some organic creatures have injected themselves into the inorganic matrix to help. They've kind of got in there just to mess with the system, but there's a lot that they're obviously not. They're not part of the living soul group. The thing that is the thing that brings seed forth to the earth. Because a machine can never produce a seed. That's never gonna happen. So the machine world cannot survive. It rusts and it dies, along with all the other ages. But the living soul, whatever that might be, if you have one, I think that's what we'd speak to. That's how we speak. It's not language. It's something deeper than that. It's something that came before language. So have a stellar evening. Find yourself in a glorious spot in the dream world, and come meet up. I'll be out there somewhere. Come say what up, Zen. Bong bong, y'all.